Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 17 of the Overnight Feed recaps for Big Brother Season 26. Hope y'all are having a fantastic weekend, a good Sunday to all of y'all. All right, we had a lot of conversations last night. People staying up, a lot of talking going on. Some of it important information, some of it repeating to multiple people, similar stories and such. I've tried to go in and trim it all down so we can fit it in a reasonable amount of time and still cover all the highlights. But we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Now, first of all, before we get into the feeds, we did have a veto competition yesterday. Yes, indeed, we had Cedric and Angela and Kenny and Tucker competing. They had the veto draw, and we added Mackenzie and Leah to the group, so we had 6 competing. Feeds went down early afternoon. It was long. It was about 5 hours that the feeds were down. Finally, they come back around 6 o'clock or so, Big Brother time, and we discover that the winner of this veto competition is Tucker. Yeah, Tucker has won yet another competition. Now, I think I get what Tucker's trying to do. He's trying to control the game a little bit, to drive it the direction he wants to go. He's wanting to be seen as a contributor, as a valuable asset to whoever wants to work with him. He wants to probably build up his resume at the end. You remember Tucker early on, everyone's saying, hey, Tucker's the person who says he didn't want an alliance. Matt was saying, he offered it to me, and everyone's saying, well, he hadn't offered me anything. But yeah, Tucker definitely doing a lot right now. He's got to be careful. I get what he's trying to do, but every time he wins one of these things, he makes himself more of a target. There was talk last night, some people comparing Tucker to Jag from last season, which when you're talking threat level is never a good thing. So Tucker needs to just slow his roll a little bit at this point in time, but he has one veto. He should be pulling himself off the block on Monday, which will force Cedric to make a renomination. And we'll cover Tucker trying to get a little too fancy and saying, maybe I don't pull myself off. He'll pull himself off the block. So Cedric's going to have to either pick someone else, or if Mackenzie was to use her power, then we get to pick who goes up on the block as a replacement for Tucker. All right, with all that being said, let's talk about the feeds themselves. Now, let me say this. If you win veto, if you're in the house at some point in the future, you win veto, wear your veto necklace around your neck for a couple hours so we as live viewers can know who won. It took a little while to figure out who that was last night, but eventually we figured out it was Tucker. But we start off with the feeds. The feeds come back, and Chelsea is talking in the rock room to the cameras. She's acted a little surprised. She said, you'll never believe it, Leah just offered a final 3 to myself and Brooklyn. She's a little shocked. Remember, Leah and Chelsea maybe not on the, at least from Chelsea's standpoint, not necessarily on the best terms. Chelsea's not the biggest fan of Leah. Probably had a little bit to do with Leah and Cam hanging around. But Chelsea is saying she just offered a final 3 to us, while I want Leah to be the redom on Monday. And I'm really hoping that Leah or Kenny go home next Thursday. So a little disconnect in the perception of the relationship between these two. We'll see where that takes us. But yeah, she's a little surprised that Leah actually reached out to her wanting to play a little game like that. All right, we've got Cedric and Kenny and Tucker all talking. Remember, these 3 guys formed 48 hours ago. They formed an alliance of these 3 guys. They're calling it the Shake It Up Crew, Shake It Up Gang Alliance. I don't know, but they formed this little trio. They're talking together. They're wondering, if Mackenzie was to use her power, who would America pick? Who would be the person that we want to see go up on the block next to Kenny and Angela? Well, Kenny's come up with the idea. He's saying, look, if Cedric, you were to make Mackenzie the renomination on Monday, and if she chose to use her power, then America votes. Whoever America picks to go up in the block, obviously America doesn't like. So then we make them the next target after potentially getting out Kenny and Angela. Yeah, we can do something like that. That'll be good input for us to figure out. I gotta say, Kenny not playing a lot of game, playing a little possum, saying he wants to go home, starting to play a little bit more now. So is it just when he's feeling more confident about his position that he's willing to play? Not sure, but he's certainly making some suggestions at this point in time. So he's suggesting that Mackenzie maybe would be the best pick to go up on the block. A lot of the conversations tonight all about who should go up at this point in time. Kenny is suggesting as well, in addition to putting up Mackenzie, he's saying, look, here's another thing. If at some point in this game before too long, if we were to get rid of Joseph, Quinn doesn't have anyone else. Well, Quinn's got a lot of people. We know Quinn's got an alliance with every person in this house, probably a few of the cameramen as well. But he's saying if we got rid of Joseph, it could help us pull in Quinn to our side and make something happen. So just keep that in mind. All right, we've got Cam talking to Tucker, saying he'd like to force Mackenzie to use the power so that they can see exactly what this power is. Still a little uncertainty maybe about all the specifics of the power. So he'd like to see her actually use it so they can figure it out. Tucker is suggesting, remember I said Tucker may be playing a little too hard. Tucker's suggesting that, hey, maybe I don't use the veto on myself. Maybe I use it on Angela. We put then Cedric. Cedric puts Mackenzie on the block on Monday. She would have to go up against myself and Kenny, and that doesn't seem like a fantastic position for her. Maybe she'd use the power at that point, or at least it would help us. We can get her out the door and flush that power, get rid of that power if nothing else. So they're talking about that. Tucker's saying that Kenny wants Angela gone, and that that conversation. Yeah, Tucker's saying, yeah, Kenny wants Angela gone. He's ready for that. And we had Angela kind of proposing working with Kenny a little bit. Kenny not really feeling the same way. Tucker's talking about getting Cedric to put up Quinn, and if that was to happen, then Quinn can't use the power. If they were to send him home this week, then Quinn can never use that power and potentially hijack one of their HOHs on down the road. So Tucker throwing out a few different kind of fancy ideas about things that could happen. I think it's going to be a lot more simple than that because Cedric doesn't want to shake up the house any more than he has to or get too much blood on his hands. All right, we've got T-Core and Chemo in the mountain bedroom talking. T-Core's feeling bad that Lisa left because she says, I would have preferred to have another strong female player and they're still in the game, but it just didn't work out. But I am feeling a little bad that we had to send out Lisa. She says that she's going to be disappointed if a bro wins this season. Obviously, she's telling this to Chemo. She doesn't consider Chemo the bro. But yeah, I don't want one of those bros to win this season. T-Core is wondering if going after Mackenzie and Leah right now is necessary. Do we really want to go after those two women? Maybe there's something else that we could do. So we see T-Core trying to think of some alternatives as well to protect some of the women in this game. T-Core is wishing that she could play in some of these comps. That she's gotten to do the HOHs, but none of the vetoes yet. She thinks that one of the reasons that Tucker keeps volunteering to go up on the block is to make sure that he gets to play in these comps. And she's a little upset. She's saying Angela keeps getting to play in these, has played in every single comp, and that's when she didn't play in one HOH, but she's gotten to play in all the veto comps and everything because she's been nominated so many times. She's thinking that players on the block 2 weeks straight are getting a reward of getting to play in the comps and how that's not really fair. Well, here's the thing, T-Core. I'm sure Angela would switch places with you in a heartbeat. If you just say the word, I'm sure you can talk people into putting you on the block so that you can compete in each and every veto from this point forward. Yeah, I get what T-Core is saying, but the stresses of being on the block are way worse than the benefits of getting compete in the veto competition. During my season, there's only 2 veto comps I didn't compete in, and I would have been fine if there were a couple more that I didn't compete in. But hey, it is what it is. But T-Core's feeling it's a little unfair that the people they're most at threat are the ones getting to play in the veto comps. All right, we've got Quinn and Cedric talking. Quinn thinks it's much more likely that Mackenzie could win another comp as opposed to Angela. She's a little bit more of a threat. That getting Mackenzie out right now would be the easiest time to get her out. The longer they wait, the more she may be able to pull more people together. Right now, she's a little bit of a lone wolf, maybe with Leah, but on down the road, that may change, and she's certainly a threat to win some games. So Quinn's thinking maybe this is a good time to make some kind of move. Cedric is thinking that Mackenzie could certainly beat Angela and Kenny in the AIBB arena competition. He's also mentioning that Brooklyn wants Kenny sent home. It seems like Angela's a slam dunk target, right? But we're certainly hearing a lot of people mentioning Kenny as well, especially from the women, because Kenny spent too much time talking about that he thinks there's a girls' alliance. Well, of course, it got back to him, and so they feel threatened. So Kenny's name is certainly being mentioned. Cedric is saying Brooklyn's mentioned his name. Our Cedric is mentioning that Mackenzie said she would use her power on Cedric next week if he needs it. In other words, don't put me up and don't force me to flush my power because I'll protect you, Cedric, next week. But he's not sure that he really believes her, though. And I'm not sure Cedric should believe Mackenzie when she says that. All right, Quinn is thinking that a smart renom on Monday would be Rubina, since he feels like she is kind of the force behind starting up an underdog alliance. But Cedric is thinking that the rest of the house wants Angela gone. So, why put up Rubina and get her mad and everything if we're not trying to target her anyway? So let's not get anything fancy with that. Cedric is mentioning that he really has only 3 people who aren't part of the collective. He's saying Rubina, who could grab Mackenzie and Leah, and maybe Joseph on down the road. He's worried that she could grab these other 3 and suddenly they've got a little alliance of their own. So Rubina could grab Mackenzie and Leah and maybe Joseph and Leah. Does that work out to 5? I think so. Who would then come after Cedric in revenge if he went after Rubina. Saying, or we could put up Mackenzie, who might, but she might be willing to help me next week. I just don't know. So Cedric bouncing back and forth what he's going to do. They're talking about the second power, and does Quinn really have it? Words continue to filter around that Quinn may have it. So they're wondering if he really does have it. Cedric's wondering if Quinn does have it, why did Quinn only tell Chemo? And is Quinn really working with his alliance? If he didn't bother to tell us, a little sketchy there. So Cedric wondering where Quinn's real loyalties lie. All right, we've got Joseph and Quinn talking about the nominees. Joseph is saying that Rubina should be the move that he thinks would be the best move for the renomination ceremony on Monday. Joseph still wondering from the night before, how in the heck did Brooklyn get into this collective alliance? She just showed up. Who brought her into this thing? It's something that he wants to figure out. All right, we've got Angela and Kenny talking a little bit. Kenny is saying that he's with Tucker, and Angela is saying that she would love to join Kenny and Tucker and try to get something done. Kenny is saying at first it's kind of quiet. Finally says, well, we'll wait and see what happens over the next 4 days. The veto, the veto ceremony and HOH. Angela, we'll see what happens, which is basically a way of saying, yeah, I don't think so, but I'm not going to say no outright, but yeah, no. So Angela certainly wants to work with Kenny. Kenny feels like he's found his spot, and not so eager to work with Angela, it sounds like. Kenny is saying that Mackenzie has the other power. Angela doesn't believe him. She still thinks Lisa had it, that Lisa went out the door with this other power. It's funny. Tucker wouldn't listen to Angela last week when she was talking about who had the power, and now Angela isn't listening to Kenny when he tells her that Mackenzie has this other power. Again, last week it was Angela telling Tucker that Quinn had one power. So yeah, there's still a little uncertainty from a few people who just refuse to listen to some folks trying to let them know what's going on in this house. All right, we've got a follow-up meeting, a part of the collective alliance, not all of them. We had Cedric and Joseph and Chemo and T-Core and Quinn. So we were missing Cam and Chelsea and Brooklyn, but we had 5 of them meeting at this together and talking things out. Cedric's worried about next week, worried that whatever he does, someone may be coming after him. But Joseph is saying, look, if Mackenzie stays, she'll go after Angela next week. She's not going to come after you, Cedric. And that he's thinking, really, because of that, probably Kenny may be the one that needs to go this week as opposed to Angela. We've got Cedric telling Joseph and T-Core, Cedric and Quinn. So the group, Cedric's telling him that he's good with whoever they want to go at this point in time. He doesn't want to make the decision. He has said before, majority alliance, majority of the house, whoever the majority wants, I'm going to do. Trying to avoid that blood on his hands. So he's mentioning that to them. I'm good with whatever y'all want. Quinn is saying that he wants Angela gone. Quinn's worried about Angela and her talking about his power and throwing him under the bus. So he wants Angela gone, saying they have to snipe her. They have to get her out. He does not want Angela in jury. Yeah, if I'm Quinn, I don't want Angela in jury either. Would Angela be a bitter juror, or would she respect the gameplay? I'm voting bitter right now. All right. Cedric mentions that Kenny believes that there's Kenny's belief that there's a girls' alliance. Cedric is thinking that Kennedy would put up Brooklyn if he had a chance. Maybe not so much T-Core. He's saying, T-Core, I think you would be good, but I think Kenny would go after Brooklyn based on his belief that there's this girls' alliance. He'll go after the women if he gets a chance. Joseph is thinking that Mackenzie and Angela will go after each other if they stay. So maybe that's a reason to hold on Mackenzie. Joseph is worried because he says Angela knows about the collective alliance. Remember when they went upstairs the night before Angela had her big Saturday morning blow up? They were trying to make Angela part of this collective. She kind of shut it down, but Joseph saying she knows about it. So we got to be careful about that as well. Joseph is saying that they need to update the rest of the collective, Cam, Chelsea, and Brooklyn, when they get a chance. Joseph and Cedric are talking. Joseph is saying that the rest of the alliance doesn't want Rubina up. He's worried about T-Core being tight with Rubina. And so Joseph is warning Cedric to keep an eye out for these two, saying, I know Rubina's name's been mentioned, but just realize that she and T-Core are tight, so be careful about what you say about Rubina and be careful about those two working together. Joseph is telling Cedric that, look, you and me, dude, we've been together since day number one. You're the one person I trust in this house 100%. So Joseph kind of setting it down with Cedric. Quinn thinks that he and Joseph are tight, and Joseph's letting that be the assumption, but it's really Joseph and Cedric, and he's telling Cedric that right now. All right, we've got Brooklyn complaining that they just restocked the storage room, but they're already out of some stuff. Just as an FY, typically on that Thursday night, same night that the HOH gets his room, at some point in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the storage room locks, and it locks for an hour or so, and we can hear a little scurrying going on inside. That's when the storage room gets restocked for the entire rest of the week. So that's what she's talking about. They just restocked, and we're already missing some foods. Go check the avocado. See if Angela's been eating some guacamole, perhaps, because she took one last week. So, yeah, but they're missing some food already. All right, most of the house guests at this point are either outside playing cornhole or they're sitting around the hot tub. They got a beach ball they're throwing around, trying to see how many times they can keep it up in the air. They were going for 100. They got to 89 or 90. They played that beach ball a long time. They have an ant invasion, which happens every year. Didn't happen our season until your day 75, 80. It was late in the season. Not so much this time. Ants are everywhere. They got into Cam's glass. They're all over the pool table. I think it's Quinn who's talking about that. The camera zoomed in. It's just ants everywhere. So they've taken over the backyard yet again. It's only a matter of time before they start coming inside as well. All right, we've got Quinn and Joseph talking upstairs, in the backyard upstairs, if I recall. Joseph is saying, remember, he just wants to know how Brooklyn got into their alliance. He's saying it was Chelsea that brought Brooklyn in. That she's lying when she says otherwise. It had to be Chelsea that brought Brooklyn in. I don't know that for certain, but I think that's probably true. Quinn is suggesting that they consider teaming up with T-Core and Chemo and Leah and Rubina. Just what Quinn needs, another alliance. I went through trying to see, is this an alliance that already exists in some form or manner? I don't think so. Quinn has managed to find yet another combination that wasn't already an alliance in existence, and is suggesting that we do this as well. A lot of alliances out there, right? So Quinn is suggesting that to Joseph. Later, he says he's going to talk to Rubina a little bit later in the night and see if maybe she's interested. And towards the very end of the evening, they are in the kitchen. It's a little hard to hear the conversation, but I think he may have suggested something about, hey, can we work together? Don't know how much detail he went into, but I think he did discuss it. So, yeah, Quinn's trying to make something happen with Rubina at this point in time. All right, we've got Joseph throwing Brooklyn under the bus. Just not happy that she's in this alliance. He's throwing her under the bus a little bit. He's telling Quinn that she's a threat, that she's a dictator, that Chelsea, again, this is where Chelsea is lying about not bringing Brooklyn into the group. So he continues that story a little bit more. They switch over. They start talking about some of their favorite Big Brother players from the past. A few names thrown out. I won't mention one of them, but Quinn does compare himself, Quinn compares Tucker to Zach Rance. I've seen other people doing that out here online. So yeah, Quinn's recognizing that Tucker is kind of the same type person as Zach as well. I thought that was kind of interesting. All right, they're talking about both being super fans. Now, here's something that may come back and bite Quinn, I'm afraid. Talking about what huge super fans they are. They watched some Instagram live with Corey talking about throwing HOH. I don't know. They watched some of the same stuff getting ready for the show. Joseph kind of out of the blue says, hey, Quinn, just to ask you the question, kind of, don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have the power? I've heard that maybe you got the power. Do you have the power? Quinn swearing up and down he doesn't have it. They end up shaking on it just as a further testament that, no, I don't have the power. I'm pretty sure that Joseph doesn't just suspect. I think Joseph knows. I think Chemo had told Joseph at one point, and they both know Quinn has his power, but Quinn's denying it. I think that's going to create some friction, some division on down the road. If Quinn does use this power and it's found out, how does that affect Joseph and his relationship with Quinn? Maybe it gives him an excuse, a reason to say, hey, I wanted to be number 2 with you, but you wouldn't even tell me the truth. So that's why I stabbed you in the back when I did, Quinn. We'll see. But yeah, Quinn's swearing up and down he doesn't have the power. I get why he does it, but if you're truly feeling this tight with Joseph, and you feel like enough other people already know that could spill the secret, it may be the point where you have to spill the secret to 1 or 2 others. The mistake was when you told Angela. Not at this point, you just have to do damage control. All right, we've got MJ, Mackenzie, and Cedric are talking. Cedric is saying whoever gets renommed on Monday is just the pawn. And whoever goes up on Monday, they're not going anywhere. He's saying the big decision is only going to be if Kenny and Angela are the 2 on the block this Thursday. Then we got to figure out which of those 2 to send home. But if this pawn that goes up on Monday is up against either one of those 2, then that person's going home, not the pawn. So whoever the pawn is, hint, 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 wouldn't have to worry at all, Mackenzie. Mackenzie is saying that if she didn't have this power, she would certainly volunteer as a pawn. Getting that hint in that, remember, I got the power. If you want to put me up, I could use it. So they're both hinting around, implying to each other kind of their position in the game right now. Mackenzie is suggesting that, hey, if you're talking about pawns, Cedric, gosh, Quinn would be a great pawn because no one would vote him out. If you truly want someone that is guaranteed to stay, put Quinn up, and that guarantees that either Angela or Kenny goes home. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the idea, Cedric. Cedric not really buying into it too much, but that's what Mackenzie's promoting. All right, we've got Cedric and Rubina talking. Cedric is saying that whatever pawn he puts up Monday won't have any harm to their game. They're not going anywhere. Again, he's now hinting to Rubina the same thing he did to Mackenzie. They're talking about the real target being Angela or Kenny. And wondering which should come first. Do they take out Kenny, who is better probably at comps and more of a threat on the competitions, or do they take out Angela just because of the friction and the animosity and what she has done in the house so far? Do you take out the comp threat or the one that's more divisive in the house itself? Cedric is saying that tomorrow, which is now today, Cedric's going to let people come up and tell him who they think he should put up on Monday. He's not going to make anyone come, but he's going to be real curious to see who may come up and want to talk to him. So he's going to be keeping track of that. He wants to protect the peace of the house, and he's worried that whoever wins the HOH next week could potentially come after him if he does anything too crazy. All right, we've got MJ talking to T-Core, Joseph, and Keymore. She's saying that she isn't scared to sit next to Angela, but she would be scared to sit next to Kenny, worried that... and actually, I say T-Core, Joseph, and Chemo. I think this was just Joseph when she mentions this thing, so I'm a little ahead of myself. She's isn't scared to sit next to Angela, but she would be scared to sit next to Kenny. We'll cover that in a second. I think I got ahead of myself. But talking to T-Core, Joseph, and Chemo, she's saying that she thinks if she's saying that Cedric said he wants the renom to be a competitor, someone can play a strong game in the AI BB comp. She's saying that she doesn't have a set group of people to support her with votes. So in other words, I'm not much of a threat. And she told Cedric that she just wouldn't take being nominated lightly. That would just make her a little uncomfortable. So again, trying to apply that if Cedric was to put her up, maybe that wouldn't be best for his game. All right, we've got Cedric talking about his clothing line he owns. I don't know if he owns a clothing line or not. I don't remember that, but he says he does, and says, I think he's talking to T-Core when he says this, says he didn't bring any in the house with him because he is here for a purpose, and the purpose is to win the game, not promote his clothing line. All right, we've got MJ and Leah talking, Mackenzie and Leah talking. Mackenzie's saying that she heard Kenny is coming after her in Brooklyn. That worries her a little bit. She says she doesn't want to use the power this week, that she just wants to save her for the next week in case she needs it. But she also thinks that she or Brooklyn probably are most likely to be the renomination this week. And it seems like that is the case. At one point, Rubina was mentioned, some other crazy ideas, but it seems like it's settling on either Mackenzie or Brooklyn. So she's a little bit worried about that. Leah is telling Mackenzie, said, look, if you were put up, use your power. Don't hold on to this just in case. She says, use your power if you're put up. Don't save it. Use it, and then just hope that you win HOH next week so you don't have to worry about what happens afterwards. Mackenzie is wondering why Cedric doesn't put up someone else besides just herself and Brooklyn, for example. Leah's suggesting that Cedric is probably working with everyone else. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, there's only 3 people that aren't part of the groups he's with, the collective and such. They both think that Quinn has the other power, and they're saying, Mackenzie's saying if Cedric puts her up, then Mackenzie's not going to have his back anymore. Yeah, funny how that works sometimes, right? All right, we got Joseph in the backyard telling a large group about working in a video store. It's kind of interesting listening to how that works. Apparently, he doesn't take a salary, so does he work there, or is it just a hobby? I'm not sure, but he's telling a large group about working there in the video store and getting DVDs and bootleg things in the back and all that. All right, we've got Angela talking to Joseph and Chemo in Brooklyn. She's saying that she wants to be here. She'll fight for it, that she's not going to have any more blow-ups. That's the Angela of the past, no more. She's also saying that any information that comes into her from now on is going into her head, which is now Fort Knox. She's not going to be giving out all kinds of information to other people. We'll see. I hope you're right, Angela, but I kind of think maybe that's not quite the way it'll go. But she's saying, you're going to see a new Angela. I'm still going to fight for everything. But you'll see a new Angela for the rest of the season. All right, we've got Joseph talking to Brooklyn. He's saying that Angela uses her personal life and her stories to campaign the pitch. He's saying that he thinks that Angela is a lot like Matt was, that they're both just too paranoid playing this game for right now. Brooklyn is saying it's tough to talk to Angela because she just doesn't cry, but Angela can't have a conversation without crying, and it's always awkward. Brooklyn is saying that she loves the connection, and it's going to work if everyone just sticks to it. Well, yeah, if you got 8 people and everyone sticks to it, it will work, but not everyone will, and that's the problem with these big alliances. All right, we've got Mackenzie and Joseph in a long conversation in the backyard, and this is where I got ahead of myself. Mackenzie is telling Joseph that she's not worried about sitting up alongside Angela. She feels like she's got enough support from Joseph and others that Angela would go home if it's the 2 of them on the block. She's a little more worried if she's sitting on in the eviction chairs on Thursday night against Kenny. And she's saying it's just because of this, the guys and all of that. She says, I think I'd have support for the ladies who just are worried about what Kenny's trying to do. She says, but I'm not worried I'd get enough support from the guys. So yeah, I'm a little nervous about sitting on the block next to Kenny if it comes down to it. They're talking about how loud Angela is when she sleeps. I think they're talking about her snoring. Joseph is talking about the fact that he's in kind of a weird spot because he's a guy, but he's not a bro, which helps working with T-Core, but maybe not so much with the Shake It Up Alliance and some of those. So he's feeling a little awkward in his position. Joseph is saying that Kenny really needs to go, and that's what he wants to do, but he's worried that Angela is just going to keep sliding by, that Angela is assumed to be such an easy target that no one wants to waste their HOH on her, and she'll just keep sliding by. Next thing you know, she's there at the very end. So Kenny needs to go, but he's a little bit worried about Angela staying when maybe she shouldn't either. Mackenzie, this is where she's saying, okay, sit next to Angela, but not Kenny. They're talking about Matt and her relationship with Matt a little bit. Mackenzie's saying she and Matt really didn't talk that much game. They did not have a final 2. With Matt, it was purely personal because that's the way he wanted it, and it wasn't game for her. Maybe a little more game than that, and I'm not sure Joseph's buying it, but that's what she's saying. All right, we've got finally, as we wrap up the evening, Cedric talking to the camera before bed. A long conversation. I tried to get the highlights in as best I could. Cedric is saying he doesn't want to put Mackenzie up, but Kenny wants it. Tucker wants it. The collective wants it. Everyone in the house seems to want Mackenzie up. And so he's going to tell her tomorrow that he's gonna somebody. She's not gonna be the nominee, but she needs to be ready and prepared. I don't know. He's gonna tell her that she's going up. He's saying if he doesn't put her up, everyone probably gonna be a little upset with him. So he doesn't feel like he really has a choice. He says he's gonna tell her what to say to make sure that she survives and does well going forward. That he's gonna tell her either to use the power, take herself down, and she'll be fine at that point, and then we'll see what America has to say. Or if she doesn't want to do that, save it. Hopefully she wins in the BBAI arena. But if not, he's going to tell her that she still has a fantastic chance not to go anywhere because they're going to vote out whoever's on the block next to Mackenzie. So anyway it goes, she's good. But he's going to throw out some suggestions of the way that she can handle this. He's hoping that Kenny or Tucker would, which is part of his Shake It Up crew, will win the next HOH so they can control the game a little bit longer. He's saying he hopes that they don't lose a member of the collective before they get to jury. He'd like to have all of them there, but 8 or 9 with Brooklyn. Is that 9 with Brooklyn? He's saying it's such a huge alliance. I don't want to lose anyone before jury, but if we have to, we have to. He says that now it's not enough they added Brooklyn. Now there's talk that they're maybe going to, some people suggesting they should add Rubina to this alliance as well, which would take the alliance to 9. That's a huge alliance. He's worried that Rubina would end up taking away 4 members of the alliance. So now 9 people, but then Rubina takes away 4 others. Suddenly they've got 5. There's only 4 left in the collective. So a little bit worried about where Rubina's loyalties lie. He's saying Angela this week. He knows collective alliance wants Kenny gone next week. So he's hoping Kenny or Tucker win the HOH, and then they could send Leah or Mackenzie home on their watch as well. And then finally, he's worried about why did Quinn not tell him that Quinn had this power. He's just wondering about the loyalties that Quinn wouldn't have told him that. All right, we've got Chemo and T-Core and Rubina and Joseph and Quinn and Mackenzie all talking around the hammock. Eventually, Mackenzie gets called to the diary room. Not real happy, not wearing any makeup, middle of the night. Big Brother tended to do that to the ladies of my season quite a bit, catch them off guard a little bit. So she gets called to the DR, not real happy. The others continue the talk. There's talk about that Mackenzie is just worried about everything going on. Tucker, on the other hand, is so certain that everything's going to go just the way it needs to go. He's too full of confidence. Mackenzie doesn't have enough confidence. They're kind of all agreeing. There's talk about the jury sizes. Is it going to be 7 people? Is it going to be 9 people? How's that going to work out? They're saying Kenny and Angela, but then who's next? T-Core saying, maybe Leah and Mackenzie, but when do we deal with Tucker? How do we, and this is where a comparison to Jag came up. What do we do about a person who we may like, but may be hard to get out of the game? When do we go after that person? The discussions are starting to happen. Tucker just better slow it down or he is in a lot of trouble. All right, finally, we've got T-Core and Chemo in the bathroom. Tico's she says she's worried about the Anderson alliance that Quinn had mentioned. And Chemo's like, what? Anderson? What are you talking about? I think Chemo's part of this Anderson alliance because it's the have-not guys. But he says, what are you talking about? Well, then she says, no, the one Quinn mentioned that's Cedric and Cam and Chelsea and Brooklyn and Quinn. Well, that's not the Andersons. That's the Pentagon Alliance. Keep these things straight. She's saying she's worried about this Pentagon Alliance without using that name because she says that puts me and you and Joseph as the bottom 3 of the collective in terms of pecking order. And I'm worried about that, as they should be. She's saying that she and Chemo are a secret duo, that they're a showmance without being a showmance. I don't know how secret a duo they is. I think people know they're tight, but she's saying we're the secret duo. We could control a lot of this game going forward if we just continue to work together. A few other things, but those were the highlights of their conversation. And with that, lights out around 3 o'clock or so, Big Brother time. They finally shut it all down. So again, the main things, figuring out who's going home on Thursday. Before that, though, figuring out who goes on the block on Monday. Joseph getting Quinn to swear he doesn't have the power. Quinn saying he doesn't have the power. We'll see how that shapes up. And people still trying to form even more alliances in this house full of alliances. It's happened for the last couple of seasons. Well, you got one more season just like that. All right, guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. We've got an episode tonight, so we'll get to see what they choose to show us in the episode itself. And then I will be back tomorrow morning to give you a recap of whatever happens in preparation for the veto ceremony, which should be taking place tomorrow. Until then, guys, have a great one. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.